Dallas Cowboys.
Ah,
Over-under's 10.5 here for the Cowboys.
yeah. I mean,
Discuss.
big question for Dallas, right? All in. The all-in season from Jerry Jones. 3 straight years of 12 wins. So obviously Vegas is predicting less than that. But as we said, they're predicting less than that for everybody. But their big kind of the whole talking point in the offseason has been, are they even obviously better than they were this time a year ago? Which is concerning in a number of ways. Number one, it looks like the talent level is just lower across the board, in large part because they replace sort of established good veterans with young players, right? Who might be good, but might not be. To their credit, Dallas has been arguably the best drafting team in the NFL in recent years, right? So if any team was going to back themselves to identify rookies to come in and replace veterans and do it seamlessly, it would be Dallas. But, large swathes of data would say that's just a risky thing to be doing. Number two, the other area of concern with that, are they better than they were a year ago? Almost all of their top end players last season had like career years, right? Dak Prescott, career year, arguably the MVP of the league in terms of just pure performance. CeeDee Lamb, career year. Micah Parsons, defensive player of the year type of season. Like all of their superstar players had career seasons and were amongst the best in the league and the best we've ever seen them. This was like, remember a few years ago where that was the case with Green Bay as well? Like Aaron Rodgers, Devontae Adams, like all of their 5 best players had career years. Like if one or two of those guys does not repeat that again, they're immediately worse than they were last season. That's kind of where Dallas is. Like all of their best players had career years. So just to stay where they were, they need to repeat that going into the next season. And the talent around them looks like it might be worse than it was a season ago. So I'm not saying Dallas is going to be bad or anything. I think they'll still be a good team, but I do feel like they've taken a step backwards by not taking a step forwards.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, the last couple off seasons here, heading into the 2022 season, it felt like Dallas had taken a step back. Remember, they had traded Amari Cooper and never really. They got worse at receiver. CeeDee Lamb was great, but CeeDee Lamb plus Amari Cooper was better, and they had a couple holes on that team in 2023 heading into last season. They didn't make those mistakes. Now, it all ended up as a wash, right? We're talking about a couple moves at a couple starting positions where at the end of the day, whether it was 2022, 2023, they were a 12-win team who couldn't do it in the playoffs. And they actually won a playoff game in 22 and didn't in 23. So it feels more like, yeah, a step back was taken. The other question, the same thing I raised for the Dolphins the other day, well, Dallas is that team that can beat up on bad teams, and that plays well in this discussion here. In over-under regular season wins, I'm going to take the over because I do think Dallas, I mean, the question for the Cowboys is how do you get to an NFC championship and eventually a Super Bowl? It's not how do you win 11 or 12 games, right? They have established that that's what they are. And that's what's going to be real interesting as Mike McCarthy heads into the last year of his contract. If this is an 11-6, 12-5 type of team again, and then they have another playoff failure, is that just, hey, we got to go in a different direction? We just haven't figured it out in the playoffs. So I think regular season wise, they'll be fine. Take the over on the 10.5, even though it's a huge number relative to other teams in the NFC.
Yeah.
But, the bigger questions in Dallas is, have they done enough in what seemingly looks like they're worse at receiver, worse at running back? They do get Trayvon Diggs back at corner to go with Deron Bland. As you mentioned, probably the best drafting team since about 2016 or 17. They've brought in more talent and high-end talent than any other team in the league. And, it's them and the Chiefs pretty much. So they deserve credit for that. But is that enough to get, past the Niners and past the Eagles and these other teams that are, comparable from a roster standpoint?
And I would normally, I would be concerned by the loss of somebody like Dan Quinn as one of their coordinators, but they replaced him with Mike Zimmer, which I think is a really good move. Zimmer's defense sort of waned towards the end of his time in Minnesota, but some numbers there suggested he still had teeth. His third down numbers were always ridiculous. Like when he was actually dialing something up, Mike Zimmer was still cooking. It's just that overall, maybe the message was kind of getting lost or had grown tired, jaded, the players there. So I think Mike Zimmer's first year in Dallas, I don't think we'll see a drop off from the defense either. But I still think I'm going to lean under simply because I just feel like they've stagnated.